6:15 a.m. I was washing my hair in a Starbucks sink on 3rd Avenue. My hands were still shaking from the cold water, but in 1 hour, I had to look like I belonged in a room full of people who spend more on lunch than I earn in a month. 7:15 a.m. I had to present a $10 million villa concept to a board of directors. My boss, Eleanor, was about to present my design as her own. She thought she had already won. What she didn't know was that I had buried a trap in the blueprint, a fatal flaw that only the real author could explain. And she definitely didn't know that the workaholic assistant standing behind her had been sleeping in a 2008 Toyota Corolla for the last 3 months. Tell me honestly, would you be able to smile at the person stealing your life, or would you finally snap? My name is Sarah. Master's degree, honors, and $80,000 in debt. I thought I was safe. Then my boyfriend, Jason, left a note on the counter. Sorry, I need a fresh start. He didn't just leave. He took my savings and the rent money. My landlord gave me 48 hours to get out. I had no safety net. No rich parents, just a trunk full of clothes and a terrifying realization. When you are this desperate, you become prey, the way a shark smells blood in the water from a mile away. My boss, Eleanor, smelled that desperation on me the first day. She knew I would do anything to keep my paycheck, so she started taking my ideas as if they were part of her salary. Living in a car is a military operation. 5:30 a.m. Wake up before the sun turns the sedan into a greenhouse. 5:45 a.m. Wipe the condensation off the windows so the police don't see you. One morning, a cop knocked on my window at 5:47 a.m. I pretended to be texting. He stared at me for 10 seconds. Longest 10 seconds of my life. 6 a.m. Hit the gym for the only shower of the day. I kept my silk blouse in a scented trash bag inside my trunk just so it wouldn't smell like old upholstery. In the office, I was Sarah the workaholic. I arrived first to brush my teeth in the employee restroom. Be honest, would you have told your colleagues the truth, or would you continue to pretend everything was fine? Eleanor was the senior partner. She wore a Cartier tank watch and treated assistants like furniture. Her method was simple. Hire hungry graduates, squeeze them dry, and sign her name. It wasn't just inspiration, it was theft. I watched the server logs. Every time I uploaded a file named Sarah_concept V1, 5 minutes later, it was renamed Eleanor Final Submission. She never changed a line. She just changed the author. Once I saw her presenting my concept to a client on Zoom. She said, I sketched this at 3 a.m. last night. Couldn't sleep. The idea just came to me. I was sitting 3 feet away. She didn't even look at me. Last Tuesday, she slammed a file on my desk. The Sterling project, she said. He rejected my designs. Fix it by Monday, Sarah, or you're out. Mr. Sterling, the tech billionaire, the hardest client of the year. This wasn't just about a career. If I lost this job, I lost my gym membership. That meant losing my only shower, my heat, and any chance of looking presentable for another interview. I was fighting for my dignity. And honestly, I was fighting not to disappear. I stayed in the office all weekend. Miguel, the night guard, left the break room unlocked for me. I opened the maps for the Malibu cliffside. Instead of fighting the rock, I designed the Arrow House, a structure that hung over the ocean like a wing. I spent 48 hours in AutoCAD without sleep. My hands developed a tremor from the caffeine. At one point, I fell asleep on the desk and woke up with the keyboard pattern imprinted on my cheek. At 4 a.m. on Sunday, I almost deleted everything. I thought, what's the point? She'll just take it anyway. But then I looked at the render one more time, and I realized this house was too good to let her ruin it. By Monday morning, it was done. It was the best thing I had ever created. Eleanor walked in, fresh from a spa weekend. She looked at my renders. Acceptable, she said. Send me the source files. How do you think she asked for the files? Was it accidental? I sent them. She renamed them immediately. 2 days later, she presented my house on Zoom. Sterling loved it. The firm got the contract. Eleanor got a $50,000 bonus. And me? I got a Slack message. Sarah, pick up my dry cleaning. I'm celebrating. That night, my car battery died. I sat in the freezing dark staring at the Slack message about dry cleaning. And then it hit me. Eleanor stole the picture, but she never opened the engineering layer. She doesn't know why the house stays up. Mr. Sterling is an engineer. He won't ask about the curtains. He'll ask about the physics, and when he does, she's done. The next morning, I walked into the conference room knowing one thing. If he asks just one right question, she drowns. The conference room on the 40th floor was freezing. Sterling sat at the head of the table, like a shark in a gray hoodie. "Impress me, Eleanor," he said. "My time is worth $5,000 a minute." Eleanor stood up, radiant in her silk blouse. She turned on the projector. "Mr. Sterling," she began, her voice smooth as velvet, "prepare to see the impossible." On the screen, my render appeared. The Arrow House. A glass structure defying gravity over the Pacific Ocean. I stood in the corner, holding the easel, invisible. I watched Eleanor walk around the room, gesturing at my line. "I wanted to create a dialogue between the stone and the sky," she said, using the exact words I had written in my notebook 3 nights ago. Word for word, I could feel my nails digging into my palms. "I wanted to eliminate the support columns to give you a sense of absolute freedom." Sterling leaned forward. He was hooked. "I need to know, what question would you ask to test if someone is a real expert or just an actor?" Sterling narrowed his eyes. He wasn't looking at the view, he was looking at the cliff. "It's bold," he admitted, "but that overhang is 40 feet. How does it stay up? If you use standard anchoring in this limestone, the rock will shatter." This was it. The moment of truth. Eleanor smiled condescendingly. She waved her hand. "Oh, Arthur, please. It's simple physics. Reinforced steel beams anchored into the bedrock. Standard procedure." Standard procedure. I was holding my breath, waiting for her to say exactly those words. That was the button. Sterling's face went cold. He stopped tapping his finger. "Standard beams?" Eleanor said. "Eleanor, if you put standard beams in that limestone, the house falls into the ocean within 5 years. You're building a death trap." The room went silent. Eleanor froze. She realized too late that she had stolen the picture, but not the blueprint. "We can reinforce the rock with concrete," she stammered, "and ruin the cliff face?" Sterling snapped. He closed the folder. "This is just a pretty drawing. It's not a house." He started to stand up. The deal was dead. Eleanor looked at me. "Do something," her eyes screamed. I felt a strange calmness wash over me. I wasn't the homeless girl anymore. I was the architect. I took one step forward from the corner. "It's not beams," I said. My voice was quiet, but in that silent room, it sounded like a gunshot. Sterling stopped. He looked at me. Eleanor looked at me, her eyes widening in warning. "Shut up." "It's a seesaw," I said, walking to the whiteboard. My hands were shaking, but I grabbed the black marker. I explained that the cliff is too weak for anchors. That's why the house isn't held up by the ground. It's held back by the garage. I drew the hidden mechanism, the heavy mass damper, deep inside the hill. The garage acts as a counterweight. The living room hangs over the ocean because the garage is pulling it back. The house doesn't fight gravity, it uses it. Sterling stared at the whiteboard. He looked at the diagram. Then he looked at Eleanor. "Eleanor," he said slowly, "why didn't you explain it like that?" Eleanor was drowning. I didn't want to bore you with the technical details, Arthur." Sterling didn't answer her. He looked at me. For the first time, he really saw me. He looked at my cheap suit. He looked at my worn-out shoes. "What is your name, Sarah? Did you draw this?" Eleanor stepped forward, blocking me. "Sarah is my junior assistant. She just executed my vision." Sterling ignored her. He stood up and walked over to me, looming over the table. "A cantilever counterweight is a rare choice for a residential home, Sarah. Where did you get the idea?" This was the trap. If I answered, I was claiming the work. Eleanor was looking at me like she wanted to murder me. I thought about every night in that car, every cold morning, every time I smiled at her while she signed her name on my work. I looked Sterling right in the eye. "I got the idea from watching a bridge swaying the wind. I studied the Akashi Kayaku Bridge. I realized that rigidity is the enemy, flexibility is strength." Sterling smiled. It was a real smile this time. "Fascinating," he said. He turned back to the table, picked up the contract, and closed it without signing. "This meeting is over." He looked at me. "Sarah, walk me to my car. I have a question about the roof drainage." Eleanor stood there frozen as the billionaire walked past her and held the door open for the intern. I walked out of that room feeling invincible. 5 minutes later, alone in the parking lot, I learned that Eleanor doesn't lose gracefully. I heard the click-clack of expensive heels hitting the pavement like gunshots. I turned around. Eleanor's face was twisted. The calm professional mask was gone. "You little rat," she hissed, closing the distance between us. You think you're clever? You just cost this firm a $10 million contract. I saved the contract, I said, my voice steady. He was going to walk away because of your bad answers. Eleanor laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. You're fired, Sarah, obviously, but I'm going to make sure you never work in this city again. I will call every firm in LA. I will tell them you're unstable. I will tell them you stole company property. She stepped closer, invading my personal space. Look at you. You smell like cheap soap and desperation. You're nobody. She looked over my shoulder and saw my car, my Toyota Corolla, parked in the corner, windows fogged up, piles of clothes visible in the back seat. Her eyes widened. Then she smirked. Oh my God, is that where you live? She walked over to my car. She peered through the glass at my sleeping bag and my stash of granola bars. You're homeless, she announced loudly, looking around. I've been letting a vagrant handle my blueprints. This is disgusting. She pulled out her phone. You know, sleeping on corporate property is trespassing. If I call security right now, they won't just escort you out. They'll arrest you. And once you have an arrest record, you'll never get a license. My stomach dropped. She was right. One phone call and everything I had fought for would be gone. Tell me, would you have run away to save yourself or stood your ground knowing she could ruin your future in one call? I reached for my keys, defeated. She had the power. I was just a homeless girl with a dead battery. She's not going anywhere. The voice didn't come from me. It came from behind Eleanor. Mr. Sterling's SUV hadn't left. It was idling 20 feet away. The back window was rolled down. Sterling opened the door and stepped out. He didn't look at Eleanor. He looked at my car. He looked at the sleeping bag. He looked at the architectural books stacked on the passenger seat. Then he looked at me. There was no pity in his eyes. Only respect. You designed a $10 million home while sleeping in a compact sedan? He asked. I nodded, unable to speak. Sterling turned to Eleanor. Eleanor, he said, his voice dangerously low. You called her a vagrant. I call her the most dedicated architect I've ever met. Arthur, she's trespassing, Eleanor stammered, trying to put the mask back on. She is hired, Sterling cut her off. I'm firing your firm, Eleanor, effective immediately. My lawyers will send over the termination fees, but Sarah works for me now. Eleanor stood there, mouth open, phone still in her hand. Sterling pulled out a checkbook and wrote a number on the hood of his SUV. $50,000. Go to the Four Seasons, get a room, sleep. Be at the site tomorrow at 10 a.m. We have a house to build. That night, I checked into the hotel. I stood in the shower for an hour, watching the stress swirl down the drain. I ate a burger sitting on crisp white sheets. I didn't cry. I was too tired to cry. I just stared at the ceiling and thought, I am safe. Eleanor tried to sue me. Sterling's lawyers crushed her in a week. Turns out she had been embezzling client funds for years. Last I heard, she's selling timeshares in Florida. 3 years later, I'm standing on the balcony of the Arrow House. It's finished. It hangs over the ocean, defying gravity, just like I drew it. I have my own small studio now. And Miguel, remember the security guard? He's my office manager. I pay him double what he made at Vanguard. He was the only person who saw me sleeping on that conference room floor and never said a word. Some debts you don't repay with money. I bought a house last month. It's not a mansion. It's a mid-century fixer-upper, but it has a foundation. It has walls. And most importantly, it has a lock on the door that belongs to me. I still keep the key to that Toyota Corolla on my desk, right next to my awards. It reminds me that the distance between the penthouse and the pavement is shorter than you think. But I want to ask you, do you think I should have forgiven Eleanor when she sent me a letter asking for a job last week? Or was I right to burn that bridge forever? Let me know in the comments.